everybody, and welcome back to another spoiler discussion for season 2 of Doctor Who. This week, we're going to be talking about Wishworld, and Seán is once again back with us to talk about this episode after a week away. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. I am dreadfully sorry to return and spoil everyone's fun. No, yes, I am delighted to be back. I was laughing that the first one I missed was the Interstellar Song Contest, which was, I believe there's been some mild discussion about that online. I wouldn't. But yeah. And also, hello, Crystal. You did a fantastic job of filling in for me, and please don't take my job. You're awesome.
It was lovely to have a chat to her. Obviously, it's lovely to chat to you too, but it was lovely to have Crystal join me and to hear her views. She's obviously very big in the world of Doctor Who, and she's got lots of thoughts and opinions, and it was lovely to hear her thoughts on the episode. So maybe we'll have her back at some point.
Well, actually, surprised, because Ellie, the big reveal is I am not Crystal. But yeah, okay. So some stuff has happened.
Yeah, as always, my views on the episode are out in the ups and downs, so if you haven't checked that out, then do go and do that. But Seán, give me your overall thoughts on this episode.
So people keep asking me, because I like talking about Doctor Who. People keep asking me, and my one word answer is this episode, busy. A lot happened this week, and obviously we'll go through it and break it down and everything. It's busy. There's so much setting up for a part 2. So it'll be interesting now when we get the reality war to go back and rewatch Wishworld and be like, okay, one of the things I know we're going to talk about is that I think it does stand as an episode. I get the criticism. I do get the criticism that it's so obviously a part 1 of 2. And I do think there's a bit of fairness to that. I think I enjoyed it enough that it does work as an episode. And you know what? I think largely Anita Dobson plays a large role in why I enjoyed it as much as I did. Because in the scenes that she's obviously just having a ball. And I enjoyed watching her enjoy herself, even when she's oh, you make a sandwich, Mom, or cut your toenails. I was loving it. I was just like, oh yeah. And when she puts on the policewoman uniform at the end as well, she's like, and it's my very great pleasure. She's brilliant. And we'd seen ahead of the episode releasing, I think we'd seen at least some of the Rani in the beginning, that scene in the forest, or is that just in the trailer? Sorry, everything bleeds together now at this point. Obviously, yes. What's the 1 week I missed? Well, the reveal of the Rani, I guess. In the greatest shock in Doctor Who history, it turned out to be the... It's funny, I was watching the behind the scenes, and even Russell just goes, yeah, I think people guessed this one. Which is grand. I mean, that's fun.
I guess you've brought up the Rani and Mrs. Flood there, so maybe this is a good jumping in point to talk about this, because I am in two minds about this. Now, first and foremost, I said this in the ups and downs. It was my first up of the episode. I think Archie Panjabi is brilliant as the Rani. I really enjoy her performance. I think she does an incredible job. I do question why they went down the bi-generation route for the Rani after setting up Mrs. Flood for 2 seasons and stringing us along and building this up and getting us excited about who is Mrs. Flood, only for her to then be replaced as the big bad for the episode and then kind of sidelined to the comic relief of the episode. Now, I'm hoping there's going to be something that comes off that. I do have a theory that she's going to turn on the Rani in the reality war. But I do feel like I would have enjoyed the episode just as much if Anita Dobson had been the baddie of the episode. It just seems like a bit of a waste of all this build-up for us to get connected to this character for her then to be replaced with somebody else.
I think that's something we've seen. That I was doing a rewatch there over the weekend. I watched Utopia, Sound of Drums. Now, give me 9 seasons of Derek Jacobi as the Master, okay? Because yes, and I know, thank God, he's done so much in the audio drama as well. But in that story, obviously different character. That story, we had an episode of Derek Jacobi, 2 episodes of John Sim. And I think that really, really worked. Obviously, this is long before bi-generation. I think one of the things about bi-generation is that every other time there's been a regeneration before the 60th, you were kind of like, well, listen, get over it now. Here's the new Time Lord. There you go. And then the 60th kind of went like, well, actually, now hang on. Well, maybe, yeah. And that's what's happened here. We're kind of like, we don't sort of have to go, Archie is the Rani because Mrs. Flood is still right there. So, I mean, look, there's a larger and ongoing conversation about by generation. The only thing I think is that more so than it has with the Doctor, I think by generation plays more of a role in the plot here. Because otherwise every Time Lord will just by generate and just there you go then. This is how they breed. And there is that kind of line, like where Mrs. Flood says, well, technically you could say you came from my loins. Rani says, please don't say that. Which I thought was quite funny. I'm glad we haven't lost Mrs. Flood. I do think there is something lost in the sort of the safety net of by generation.
Yeah, I think I was excited to see this evil side of her, and it was building up and building up, and I was waiting for this big reveal where we were going to get evil Mrs. Flood, evil Anita Dobson. And when that moment came, she was replaced by somebody else. And that's where I'm a little bit like, she could have easily carried this episode as the villain. And I think I'd have quite liked to have seen that. And I guess the difference between this and with Derek Jacobi as the Master is this was 2 seasons worth of build-up, not 1 episode where we meet the character in the episode and by the end of it, they've regenerated. This was, we were drawn in by Mrs. Flood, Anita Dobson. I don't know. I like I said, I am not against Archie Panjabi. I think she's brilliant. I really enjoy her, the way that she acts. I like the way she treats Mrs. Flood. I think that dynamic works really well. It just makes me question... I guess it's a question about bi-generation. Has it become a bit of a gimmick? Is this it now? Is that what it's always going to be? How do you just go back to to regeneration now that we have bi-generation?
What I also like is I like, because we've been having, funnily enough, full circle moment, we've been having crossovers between different Doctors since effectively the 3 Doctors back in 1973. I wonder why that one's on my mind. But, I like the time travel element of, different regenerations meeting each other. The much more recent one being the Master and Missy in The Doctor or World Enough in Time, The Doctor Falls, which I loved. When you have, we are both at the same time, and I'm very conscious about it, like we haven't seen where this is going, so I don't want to be like, this is bad, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just like, I do kind of miss I remember this. Funny, I watched Time Crash again there last night. You knew this because you remembered me watching you doing the. I love that kind of stuff. So I'm very curious as to how they're going to balance it, because I assume at least one of the Ranis is popping their clogs next week. Yeah. Now I've nothing to go on. I just kind of think it's that kind of story that you tend to kind of do something with your big bad. Is obviously now the suggestion that she's not the big bad. This one I go back to. It's a busy episode.
There's so much going on and also not a lot going on at the same time. Like there's so much setup happening, but also not a lot of answers. Something I wish I'd thought of it while I was doing the ups and downs, but I thought of it after the ups and downs. Because we'd commented on, I know, yeah. We'd commented on how there was like a lot of vibes of like WandaVision with this episode.
Yeah.
And I did think to myself, because I commented as well, it was one of my downs, but I did comment on the fact that I almost felt like it would have been better if we'd started this episode with the Doctor and Belinda waking up as a married couple and us being as confused about what the hell has happened in the week since last week's episode as they seem to be, or they don't see, it seems normal to them, but like us being like, what's going on? But because we'd had that scene beforehand with the Rani taking the baby and it being the God of Wishes and talking about making this wish, you kind of know what's happening. So you spend the episode kind of waiting for the Doctor to catch up. So you know most of what's going on rather than trying to make your own theories as you're watching as to who could possibly have done this or what's going on or why have they done this. And I did think it might have been interesting if they hadn't have done the bi-generation for, like WandaVision, for Mrs. Flood to have still been the neighbour pretending, posing as the neighbor, like Agatha was pretending to be the neighbor, the friendly neighbor, but secretly the villain, making it all happen. And I think that could have been a really interesting kind of way of exploring it, and us also exploring the mystery rather than knowing a lot of what was going on already.
I think, yeah, I do think having the scene of the Rani in the beginning was so that we could get some time with Archie right up front.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get that. I think, yeah, then unfortunately, then the kind of the mystery of the episode is a little bit dulled. But then I suppose you wonder as well, is the assumption that, well, we know the usual that it is a fake world, or there's mind control going on because it's Doctor Who. It's only happened 750 million times before. So, which is also, I mean, I've no problem repeating tropes in Doctor. It's how you do it. I don't know. I mean, I really like. I know you hated Archie Bunjo, just hated her. You know, you were like every scene. No, I really liked it, and I liked how she was both scenery chewing and not. She's scarier in this first scene than she is in the rest of the episode. I don't think she's meant to be scary in the rest of the episode, but she is scary in this scene, and I think it comes across well because you get the kind of the mad scientist a little bit.
Yeah.
If you think of episodes like The Devil's Cord, because I'm pretty sure Jinx Monsoon has spoken about this, that effectively the Devil's Cord is like the closest to pantomime that we've kind of gotten in like at least the last couple of years of Doctor, because Jinx is having the time of her absolute life in that episode. But I'd say you could, CGI effects aside, you could lift that and drop it into, an 80s Doctor Who arc easily. And everyone will probably be up and matching the same kind of energy because it is that kind of over the top performance. I mean, I say as if John Sim wasn't playing it for the back row in because we were talking about this just before we started recording. I just rewatched the end of season 3 there, and then season 4 as well. Even Davros, like, I mean, yeah, over the top and camp. What was it? No, it was because it was Interstellar Song Con. It's like, how did you get back in? I floated through space on a confetti cannon. How camp! I love that. Because Doctor Who is camp and always has been camp. I've just gone into a defensive camp as I should. But yeah, and then sorry, that's what it was. So yeah, Kate O'Mara was obviously like she was playing it for the back seats and have fun and everything, but that was also the style. And we have seen with some returning even doctors and returning villains and returning actors that, yeah, things do tend to get played a bit differently. Davros actually is another example of Davros was pretty high camp in, The Stolen Earth and Journey's End. Possibly even more camp than in things like Genesis of the Daleks, where he's kind of like, yeah, he's still Davros, but he's a bit more like, I'm called calculated scientist. Whereas in like Journey's End, it's like, well, you've had your coffee. But yeah, I think the main thing for me it boils down to is that you've got two Ranis standing beside each other, and then you've got I guess the shadow, if you like, of Kate O'Mara, is there as well because again the three doctors. William Hartnell was of course still alive at the time, but he was not well, so he is in the three doctors, but it's very much the second and third doctors being the Doctor at the same time. With sort of we then obviously get the nice little cameo of the first Doctor. And I guess we had the cameo of Kate O'Mara here because we have that archive footage.
One of many flashbacks in this episode.
My goodness, how many episodes did we watch while watching this episode?
I mean, I love a good flashback, but when it comes to a flashback of a scene from the episode we're currently watching, I think it's maybe gone a step too far.
That I think we spoke about this before. That is a trope that does wind me up a little bit. It's like, will you trust your audience a little bit? We do have memories, and it's I'm not against flashbacks. I'm really not. It's just like, as you say, literally the episode we're watching.
Mm-hmm. Even some of the flashbacks to episodes in this season, like flashbacks of Conrad. Like earlier on in the episode, I was thinking flashbacks of what was it called? It's completely gone out of my head, so we won't talk about that one.
Well, You've never even Doctored a Who in your life, have you?
Nope. But yeah, I think some of them worked really well. Obviously, it's great to have a little flash of all of the doctors when their
Oh yeah.
memory is returning. The Kate O'Mara one, I think,
Ooh.
worked very well.
Ooh. Speaking of, have they reversed or have they made a decision on what Doctor comes where? Because they included Joe Martin after Jodie, and then had the 14th after her.
Yeah, I
Now,
don't know.
was it just so that people weren't up in arms by having her come before Hartnell?
Probably.
Probably was, let's be fair. Anyway, Omega.
Yeah. First of all, I am honestly have never been inundated with more comments about pronouncing a name wrong. It's not Omega. I know that for sure. It's not Omega. I also know that for sure. Now I went and watched the Three Doctors and Arc of Infinity, and they seem to put more pronunciation on the R part, like Omega.
Oh my God, yeah.
Omega.
Omega, it's Omega.
So honestly, I don't know how to say it properly. I don't think they know how to say it properly. Stop coming at me for saying it one way. I just said it how they said it in the Three Doctors.
That's because also
Omega, Omega. I don't know.
Your man. Anyway, so I just because I love John Pertwee had such a distinct way of speaking as well. So I was just watching it there a minute ago. I'm pretty sure he's the first one to say Omega's name. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go with that one. All right.
Yeah.
Omega. Also, do you ever notice that John Pertwee manages to get his tongue into everything he says? Impressive. Very impressive. Yeah. Like, there's so much in this episode. I know we've skipped over bits. I would definitely we'll go back to the episode as well. But like this era of Doctor Who, which I'm enjoying, is not kind on new viewers.
Considering it was marketed as a jumping in point for new viewers.
Right, like
they've not done a very good job of it.
Season 1, Season 2 seems to be the absolute lol. As in, you need to go back and watch seasons 1 and 2 of Hartnell to understand now. But yeah, so right, Omega. So the OG Daddy Time Lord, right? There is, in my opinion, there's no way this doesn't tie back into the Timeless Child, because we know they are doing the Timeless Child, as in they've kept the Timeless Child as a plot arc, and we've had obviously Joe Martin made a cameo in the Story in the Engine, so we are definitely doing this. Are we going to get the reveal, which seems likely, that Omega was working with Tecteun? Or possibly no, actually no, I think Tecteun effectively says I am not Omega in Flux. Pretty sure that's like they're not one and the same, because would it not then make sense if the OG Time Lord was a title? Like, oh, thanks to the powers I have stolen from this child, I am now calling myself a Time Lord, which, considering what's already been retconned, that would not seem like a retcon too far in my head.
Yeah. I think my biggest...
Like, yeah, I can see
no,
it.
I'm thinking about where I think this is going, because I honestly don't know. Usually I have a pretty good idea of what's happening, but I think so much has happened in this episode. Like you said, it's a very busy episode that I'm kind of at the point now. I'm just like, I don't know where this is going, and I'm really hopeful that they can tie it all off satisfyingly, because there's a lot of setup happening here, and my concern is that they've got an hour, just over an hour, to tie it all off somewhat. I think at the moment my big question is, are we going to actually see Omega, and if so, what is he going to look like? Because I would be disappointed if it ended up being a big CGI creature like Sutek was.
I have to say, like, it's on the one hand, hasn't CGI come so far? Don't get me wrong. Like it's like I'm gonna say the bone monsters look brilliant. Why they're there is a different story altogether, but they look brilliant. And I know they're there to create doubt. By the way, I know. And I mean, Sutek, when you're seeing a giant CGI dog, your brain knows you're seeing a giant CGI dog. So there's kind of just the uncanny element of it as well. I personally Where we are right now, let's see what we're like 5 minutes into the reality war. I don't need to see Omega. I need to. I'm going. No, I'm going to stick with it. I need this to be the Rani story.
See, this is my concern. If they do have Omega returning, it feels like a lot. We've got the Rani back, we've got Omega back, we've got Susan popping up, we've got all these things happening, and I'm like, it's like you've just gone, hey, let's just throw everything we can at this season. And I don't want things to be overshadowed. Like I said, I don't want Mrs. Flood to be overshadowed by the fact that we have a new Rani now, and we've also got this character, and we've also got that character. And there's a lot going on. I kind of get the feeling it might be the case of we actually never see Omega, and the whole point of the story is that they stop it before he actually has the chance to emerge, which may be a little bit of a cop out, but also I wonder how. I just don't know. Are they going to be able to, if they do bring him back and then send him away in the same episode? That's a lot going on top of all the other things that need to be resolved and sorted, like Poppy is real. I do have a daughter. Hang on a second. What? You've just set up another big mystery there. What's going on here? And there's just a lot to tie off.
There is, I think, and I think this is where we've spoken about this before. There's a lot to tie off, and if I'm honest, there hasn't been enough build up. You know, like dropping Omega in the way that they've done. I am so conscious of the way I'm pronouncing it. And anyway,
it's so hard. I don't ever want to say that word ever again.
because I think I'm so used to saying Omega just as the word, you know, and as of a molecule and a directive. But right. So obviously, I mean, you could argue you've had the build-up of Omega since 1973, okay? But they haven't been a part of current Doctor Who. Certainly, well, not since, I mean, I'm pretty sure they've been name dropped, but not since the revival, you know? And which also had a wacky moment the other night when it was like, all of the Doctors from 1963 to 1996, I think were pretty much almost equal in terms of iterations from 2005 to now. Not important, just popped into my head the other day. And like, yeah, like, so in the way that we're worried Mrs. Flood has become a sidekick to the Rani, does the Rani then become a sidekick to Omega? And then where does that place Mrs. Flood? Where does that place Conrad? Where does that place the Pantheon?
Yeah, do you know what? I was just thinking there's the Pantheon in there somewhere as well.
Was it Desiderium? Did I pronounce that right? The, you know, creepy ass baby with the lap. That was, yeah, I was watching that with so a group of mates, we got together on Saturday and we watched it, and literally a ripple ran through the room. Well, because babies are scary. The laugh was fine, but just babies are terrifying, you know. And even I all credit to Jonah, by the way, who's playing the hell out of Conrad. I really don't care about Conrad, but I think that's the point. Like, Conrad is such a non-entity, just being used. I love that he's being used by women in this because he's such a misogynist, and, you know, such, you know, the whole like, oh, you know, women shouldn't have to work, they should be at home, and the man should be providing and everything. Like, yeah, I see you, Conrad. I see exactly who you are. But using that, I suspect, I might be wrong, I think the Rani's gonna like push him off the Bone Palace or something next week because he's such a tool.
Yeah, he's not important at all.
Yeah.
I think something that I actually did really enjoy about this episode was the concept of, you know, you have Ruby and Shirley and the group of people who literally were given no thought by Conrad in either the positive or the negative, because I think it's important to remember that it's not that Conrad thought about them consciously to remove them from his world. He gave them no thought whatsoever, and in doing so enabled them to slip through the cracks and fly under the radar and notice that things weren't right. And I thought that was a really interesting concept, a really powerful concept, that those who are perceived as different see the world in a different way and can see where things are wrong or where there are issues. And I thought that was a really great concept for this episode. And yeah, the power of him giving them no consideration at all actually working in their favor. They weren't consciously erased. They were below that. They were given no attention whatsoever. It actually reminds me, complete side note, I've been rewatching the American sitcom The Middle. And it's got a family with 3 kids. And the oldest son is kind of, the jock. He does lots of attention because you've got to make sure you get your scholarship for your sports. And they're always hounding him. The parents are always hounding him. And then you've got the youngest boy who has lots of additional needs and things, so gets a lot of attention for that. But then you've got the girl in the middle who just wants attention. This is one episode that I watched, and it just happened to really resonate with this idea. And she was getting no attention whatsoever. So she tried to get her dad to spend lots of time with her so that he'd, give her lots of positive attention. Then she noticed that the oldest son was getting lots of attention in the negative because he'd been acting out. So he was still getting attention, just in the negative. So then she started to try and act out to try and get some negative attention. And she was getting neither. She was getting entirely ignored and just floating and being not acknowledged in the positive or the negative, to the point where she was basically invisible. And it was pretty much the same as what this episode was saying. They were getting nothing at all, so they were invisible to the world around them. But that actually worked in their favor, and I thought that was a really interesting concept for the story. And I think it worked really, really well. And it was great to see Shirley and Ruby teaming up.
I love Shirley. I mean, I'm very much on record of last season being just like, there's a fierce lack of Shirley.
Yeah, I'm glad they kind of stuck with a kind of one unit team this season, as opposed to so many people in and out and in and out. I like that we've just had kind of Shirley back, and that's Shirley, Kate, Colonel Sexy.
I love as well, because in the cast list for next week, Yasmin Finney is in the cast. So people are like, "Ooh, I wonder what iPad Rose will be holding next week." But we'll get to that when we're talking about the trailer for the reality war. Like, I suppose, like one of the last things on Conrad, like you said, like, there's just the absolute lack of thought for, people who don't completely act a certain way and fill a certain role and look a certain way. And obviously then holding up that book cover. Russell T Davies, subtle as a brick to the face. Who is Conrad an allegory of? Who could he be talking about? Love it, Russell. Absolutely love it. I think what else
was really lovely to see in that scene, and we must point it out because it was really lovely to see, was a fellow Doctor Who content creator, Tharis, who appeared in as a brief cameo in that scene, and so that was really lovely as well to see him there.
That was really, really cool, because then obviously, like, it was like, wait, what? And saw the people posting online about it. Like, that's really, really cool. Also, looking directly at you, if you're going to send hate to somebody for being in their favorite show, you're a dick. I mean,
when you said that, I thought you were looking at me, and I was thinking, I just said nice things.
You, Ellie. No, like, I've seen some of the stuff. Lads, grow up. Like, I don't know what to say to you. If you're going to take time out of your day to send hate to somebody who got to be in their favorite show, you need to have a serious conversation with yourself. That's all I'm going to say about that. Fair play, Tharis. Like, that was brilliant. And people are like, Sean, you jealous? Yes, but I can be both jealous and happy for somebody at the same time. Two things can be true at the same time. So no, that was pretty cool. It does make me question whether or not it was actually you in that episode in the sea. I know you say it wasn't you, Ellie.
Honestly, I mean, seeing that, I'm like, you got a lookalike of me, so come on.
Yeah, Ellie, you need to bring your asking price down, okay? Listen, you're doing yourself out of opportunities here, okay?
No, it was very nice to see him there, so we're all very happy for him.
That was in fairness. That was cool. I look, because it's kind of like, like real life crossing over with, even though there's so many real life things in Doctor Who as well. But no, that was good fun. And also,
you know what else was fun in this episode? The Rani Sonic.
Else.
The Rani Sonic. I love it so much.
I love the breakdown of what it's styled like and everything. That was really, really good. Also, I mean, because for me, obviously, it's its own unique design, but like the color scheme and everything was like, I see you, 9th and 10th Doctor Sonic. I see you.
Oh, I love it. It's purple. That's my favorite color, in case you couldn't tell. I love that design. I love the incorporation of the like, old-fashioned syringe, the kind of linking back to her being a scientist. The callback to Kate O'Mara's Rani as well, with the detailing of the red and gold. Beautiful. Honestly, I said it in the ups and downs. I think this is my favorite Sonic design ever. Of all the Sonics that exist, I would even go as far as to say I think I prefer it to River's Sonic, which is really saying something.
Perhaps controversial opinion. I was never as much of a fan of River Sonic as yours, but I get it. Still cool. Still cool. What was I going to say? I just think it looks great, and the deadly nightshade. And it looks like a medical instrument.
And it doesn't look like a TV remote.
Listen. So I have questions. First, is this our Earth altered?
I don't know. This is what I don't understand. I'm hoping the reality war is going to explain how we went from the end of the Interstellar Song Contest to where we then were in this episode. How did they suddenly trap the Doctor and Belinda? The TARDIS exploded. What did they do? How? This is why I'm really hoping. This is what I mean when I say there's a lot riding on the reality war. A lot of questions that need to be answered. Or are they just going to ignore that? In which case, I still have questions.
I feel like they kind of can't, because how do they get them out of the TARDIS? So I think that will be addressed, right? I've got a couple of really basic questions. If this is Earth, and the Rani went out of her way to say that the bone planet is a fixed point in time and space, is that now always there?
I hope not.
Because I would not like it being there. So that's one. Because we saw, obviously, back in the Robot Revolution, bits of Earth floating all over space, obviously teasing that, reality's going to break apart and everything. But then I guess, sorry, spoiler a little bit, but looking at the preview for the reality war, London's back again. So are the big bony boys as well. So you're looking forward to it. But all right, so obviously there's going to be wibbly wobbly timey wimey. That's fine. Poppy is real because Poppy was in Space Babies, which is separate story altogether. So why was Poppy in the story in the engine?
Yeah,
so there's got to be some timey wimey going on, which is fine. This sort of, I haven't really addressed anything of what made it. This sort of brings me to the who is Poppy question. Is Poppy just Poppy? Or is Poppy actually the Doctor's daughter? Because all we see once the Doctor becomes kind of the Doctor again, all he says really is Poppy is real. Do you understand what that means? He doesn't say Poppy is my aunt's third cousin's, twice removed. He just says Poppy is real. Okay. That is cool.
Don't you understand what this means? No, Doctor, I don't understand what this means. Please tell me.
So is Poppy really his daughter? Is Poppy Susan's mum? Is Poppy Susan? And if Poppy is the Doctor's daughter, if we go back to who I don't think she is, but if we go back to Space Babies and we're talking about wishes, the Doctor and Ruby, say about, when she asks, are you my parents? And he goes, oh no, I wish we were. Which world? But Ruby's in the episode, but Belinda is the Doctor's wife in this one. So, okay, that's slightly confusing there. But, sorry, you're following me on a journey here. If we take some stuff at face value, that the Doctor is Poppy's actual papa, and Belinda or Ruby is the Doctor's or Poppy's mum, that could fix a nearly 30-year-old plot hole, because Paul McGann said that he was half human on his mother's side. Is Poppy actually an ancestor of the Doctor as well? Wibbly wobbly.
You know who said this episode was confusing?
It's a little bit confusing, this
You've
episode.
just made me even more confused. I don't know is the answer. We'll have to wait and see.
I'm sure there's people going like, Sean, what are you talking about? So yeah. He said half human on my mother's side, but then there was another joke saying, "Oh, it's a bit like flu." I got over it. So I don't know. I am. They've made a point of Poppy being real. It's going to play into the plot.
Yeah. And obviously we have seen Susan very briefly again, and I'm hoping we're going to see more of Susan.
I want to see them interact.
I want to see that reunion.
Mm.
So I'm hoping that we're going to see Susan next week.
I'll be honest, I don't want to see selfishly, I don't want to see Susan talking to someone else.
No, I want to see that reunion. And if that doesn't come, I don't know how I feel about the Susan's little flashing here and there. Need it to be more. I also did say, great to see Rogue. Do you feel like that scene could have just been all Susan?
It was a little, and then I think knowing that it was filmed while they were filming Rogue as well, yay for the planning ahead, which I actually mean. Like I like having stuff planned out seasons in advance. Like that works for me. But it was a tiny bit. Why is Rogue the one reaching out? Is Rogue, this version of Rogue, actually an invention of the Rani to increase the doubt? Because what does the Rogue do? Only then get the Doctor to doubt. You know? So, which is fine. But then what was the point? And then is Rogue Omega? Rogue's in a hell dimension?
I don't know that he is, because I think he's just trapped in the same dimension.
Maybe that's it.
That's why he warned him, because he could see what was happening.
Oh, and is he working for Omega as a kind of a, look, I know I saved your friend, Doctor, but actually I'm kind of pissed off now after a year of sitting in this hell dimension, whereas Omega can get me out of here. Which then goes, well, if that was filmed, so now I'm thinking, if that was filmed during the production of Rogue, I'm not expecting to see Jonathan Groff in the reality war.
That's what I mean. That whole scene, the purpose of that scene was to tell the Doctor tables don't do that.
Yeah.
Susan could have done that just as easily. That could have been a whole flash of Susan again on the TV screen. We could have got more of Susan trying to get through the reality of, I am your granddaughter. Remember, tables don't do that. And then the confusion of, how can an old lady be my granddaughter? That could easily have created doubt just as much as Rogue popping up. In fact, I think it would have been a stronger way of causing doubt that this old lady on the telly said she was my granddaughter, but somehow it feels right.
Now I'm thinking, I'm going to take you on face value of that. Maybe she isn't. Maybe she's going to fly the TARDIS in, because where's the TARDIS?
Oh, that would be cool.
Because, she traveled in the TARDIS. She's a Time Lord, or Time Lady, whatever you want to say. That could be a cause. I mean, like, everyone would lose their collective if the TARDIS appeared and opens the doors, and there's Susan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're going to have a job explaining it and going like, right, how did she get off the planet? How did she get the TARDIS? But that would be, like when you think moments of who, that would be a moment. Now I'm almost like, oh, gosh.
It'll be like that moment at the end of the Fires of Pompeii when the 10th Doctor comes back to save Caecilius and the lighting is behind him and he opens the door and he's like, come with me.
I just have this image of Donna in the back and you're like, bloody hell, give me some sunglasses. God, yeah. So like we've been talking for about 9 hours on this now. Like, I mean, and most of which has been questions. The reality war has a job to do.
Yeah. But before we get into our preview of the reality war, shall we go to our ranking of season 2 so far? You have 2 episodes to add this week, so can you please tell me where you would place the Interstellar Song Contest and Wish World?
Right. Okay. Interstellar first. I know this is going to sound harsh. I did enjoy it. I did not enjoy it anywhere near as much as, like, Story in the Engine, my clear number 1 of the season. I really did like. I think Lucky Day probably still sits at number 2. The Well probably still sits at number 3. I'm kind of leaning toward Interstellar at the bottom.
That is interesting.
It wasn't bad. It really wasn't bad. None of them have been bad. But Interstellar, I did feel like it was a short story stretched over an episode's length. And I think there was some pretty mixed messages going on.
I think it's really interesting because our rankings are pretty similar. There are a few differences, and I'll do mine in a second. But what's really interesting last week was having Crystal on because hers was entirely different.
Okay.
Interstellar's #1 on her list,
Okay.
which was really interesting because it was nowhere near #1 on mine. So it's interesting to hear that it's at the bottom of yours.
Hmm.
We all got different views on it.
Because I think, yeah, because obviously I wasn't around for Interstellar, so you'll never know my thoughts. I enjoyed it. I did. And Rylan, I loved Rylan. I think Rylan was possibly my favorite part of the episode. Um, I know as an Irishman, I should say Graham Norton was my favorite part of the episode. Um,
I will go. I'm going to stick with The Well at #1.
okay.
Story in the Engine is #2. And then Lucky Day.
Hmm.
Then Lux. Then Interstellar Song Contest.
Okay.
Then Wish World. And Robot Revolution stays at the bottom. The thing is, I don't dislike the Robot Revolution. I think it's a perfectly fine episode. The reason I put Wish World above it is because I really, really, really enjoyed the setting of this episode, this warped reality, the utopian dystopia world. For as twisted as it was, I enjoyed seeing it. It was different. It was unique. It was something we haven't seen in Doctor Who. We have seen things like it, but it was something different. I liked the way UNIT was changed to fit within this world. I just liked that element of the story. Whereas I think the Robot Revolution was maybe just a bit more of a generic story that didn't wow me massively. I didn't hate it. It was it's definitely an improvement on some of the episodes of season 1, but I think that's why Wish World goes above the Robot Revolution.
I'm on board. So yeah, I wonder, yeah, where is the reality war going to land? So based on the trailer, right? Um, what's in the box? What's in the box?
Yeah. I want to know what's in the box. I was speaking to some people at Comic-Con this weekend, and someone suggested that the Master might be in the box.
So I'm going to be slightly controversial. I don't think the Master's in the box. I tell you why. We did that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, we've already had a Master in a box.
So
So I don't quite know who's in the box. But I do find that trailer to be quite interesting. I think it's interesting that we seem to now have the actual reality and this Wish World reality kind of crossing over, because we've got Colonel Sexy back as Colonel Sexy.
Yep.
Shouting fire. You've got things shooting at the big dinosaur skeletons. You've got Belinda, who seems to be a bit confused about what is real and what's not, because she's still convinced that she has a daughter. So I wonder how that's going to play out and what's going to go on there. But in terms of actual big theories about where this plot is going, I have no idea. I have so many questions. I'm just going to have to watch this episode and find out what the hell's going on, because I really don't know.
And like I probably shouldn't assume, but I assume there's going to be at least some setup for the war between the land and the sea in this. So are we going to get sea devils?
Oh God, let's not add more to this. We've already got enough things to solve.
Right? It's like, hold on.
I think if there are sea devils, it'll be something like right at the end as a little like cliffhanger. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. Why would the Rani want a new Gallifrey? Like, are we going to bring the Time Lords back or just physically have a new Gallifrey? I think the Master has kind of alluded to that a couple of times as well.
I get a bit confused about what has happened to Gallifrey at this point. I'm like, is Gallifrey there? Is it gone? Who killed it this time?
It's still, yeah, like the bugs me how it was. Yeah, I wouldn't be my favorite storyline now from the 13th Doctor's era.
When they say I'm the last of the Time Lords, Gallifrey's gone, I only think of the Time War. I literally forget that it came back and then it got destroyed again.
Yeah, it's a bit like, oh, thanks for all that hard work. Sorry, you did what? So yeah, like some retcons are not bad retcons, let's put it that way. And I mean, listen, to some good luck, reality war. Maybe you do upload it. I can't wait for a discussion next week to see what's our reaction to whatever we end up seeing. It's going to be, excuse me, sorry, my excitement is causing me to burp. So to anyone who's going to see it in the cinema this week, have an absolute ball. Have fun. 20 will be watching at home as well. Also have fun and have a ball. You should not be excused from fun just because you're watching it at home. This one is, do you have I think is it 70 minutes that the runtime?
It's 60 something.
The reality war runtime. 1 hour, 6 minutes. Yep. So yeah, okay, cool. 66. There's another 6 in there somewhere. Oh, is it the devil? I don't know. But sorry, I've had a lot of coffee this morning. It's a lot. There's a lot it needs to do, and we know Doctor Who can do a lot in a relatively short runtime. It's going to be how satisfying it is that will be the question. But listen, they've done a lot for it. Look at what Journey's End did for so many arcs coming up to and including the end of season 4. Look what the 60th managed to do for things from 2005 and before and onwards. So I has to fate.
I guess all will be revealed next week. By this time next week, we'll have all the answers, hopefully. I think that just about covers everything for this episode.
I think so. I think this was well done, everyone, for stick. Fun fact: the reality war is only 10 minutes shorter than the day of the Doctor.
Oh.
Now, this discussion episode was chaos, as in fact was Wishworld. So I think it's on theme.
Make sure, if you haven't already, that you do go and check out the ups and downs for this episode. There will be a breakdown and Easter egg video for this episode coming in the coming days as well. And as always, if you haven't already, go and check out all the coverage for all the other episodes in this season too. There is a playlist on YouTube with all of the videos, so it's nice and easy to find. But until next week, when we get to the grand finale of season 2, look after yourselves, stay safe, remember to be kind. I'm actually going to be a little bit honest here. This week I felt a little bit down by so much negativity on the internet. Just remember, sometimes before you comment something, there are people that are behind these videos, these comments, and we do see them, and we do sometimes take them to heart, and it can be a little bit upsetting to see so much negativity thrown at us for simply doing our jobs.
I think just to kind of, I think I'm glad you brought that up. Like, we're not saying to anyone you have to like everything. That is not what we're saying. Okay, we like discussions. We like, where we disagree. That's all. That's what we do, right? It's fun. It's like it seems to have been a little bit of a build recently of, rather than I disagree or I don't like, it's you personally are X. Don't do that, folks. Don't do that. Don't do it to us, please. Don't do it to the people making the show. Don't do it to the actors. Disagree. Say what you like. Say what you didn't like. Cool. Genuinely cool. That's literally what we're doing here. You know what I mean? Like, but it's sometimes just remember. No one lives in a vacuum.